Kung Fu Panda 4 was released in theaters over the weekend, and I went to go see it, so let's review. So Po, this time around, is looking for his successor as the Dragon Warrior as he goes into his next step of leadership and guidance. But meanwhile, there's a new villain called the Chameleon. She is stealing Kung Fu and powers from past villains that Po has fought and defeated. And so now, with the help of his new friend, they go on the road to try to defeat her. Now, if you've watched my review of the first 3 Kung Fu Panda movies, you know how I feel about them. I think they are excellent films. Like, they are more than just kids' films. Like, they are films that adults can enjoy. The first one is my favorite. I like the third and the second one. And it's definitely one of DreamWorks' flagship franchises with How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek. And so when I heard that they made a 4th film, I was like, okay, let's see how this works out. Because like I said, I do enjoy the Kung Fu Panda movies and they've all have been great. And so I don't know, either this could be good or this just could be a cash grab or just a step down from the previous 3 films. And after watching this film, I'd say, did this movie need to happen? No, but I didn't think it was a total disaster or a cash grab. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel like this movie just felt like a launch of a new trilogy. It just felt very episodic. Now, Jack Black does return as the voice of Po, and he always gives 110% whenever he makes these movies. And he does maintain the same level of maturity and progression throughout all these movies, and it's definitely present here. But I do feel like him taking that next step in leadership and guidance, they didn't put enough emphasis on that. The whole movie, they just put more emphasis on him realizing who the next Dragon Warrior is, which I won't spoil, but once you see the movie, I think you can see it coming a mile away. But in addition to that, I just feel like they could have put more emphasis on him taking that next step in his journey. James Hong and Bryan Cranston returned as Po's adopted dad and biological panda dad. And while I did like them in the movie and they brought some energy to this film, I couldn't help but feel like, is it really necessary for them to still be here? Awkwafina plays the voice of Zen, who is this silver fox that Po befriends and that he goes on his journey with. And quick side note, do animated studios just have Awkwafina on speed dial? Because from what I've heard, she's been in a lot of animated films lately. But despite the fact that she just looks like Dollar Store Sly Cooper, I do like the design of her. I do like the partnership she has with Po in the movie, and I also like the chemistry between Jack Black and Awkwafina. I just love how they bounce off each other. But there is a twist involving her that I'll admit I did not see coming, but also given what the story is about, I think you can figure out how the story is going to play out in the end, and it's going to involve her character, and yeah. I love Viola Davis. I think she always gives 110% into everything she is in. In fact, I think she is the Meryl Streep of Black actresses. And it's clear she took this movie for a paycheck, but she still bought her A game. At first, I didn't recognize that was her, and sure enough, it was her. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, okay, Viola. But the character itself is just this gecko that can shapeshift, which does make sense. But she is stealing all the powers in Kung Fu from past masters and villains that Po has fought in the past. So we do get the return of Ian McShane as the voice of Tai Lo, but no voice of Gary Oldman or the J.K. Simmons character from the 3rd film. I guess there wasn't enough money in the budget to bring those 2 actors back. But they brought back Ian McShane for nostalgic reasons. Speaking of actors not returning, the Furious Five, they are mentioned in this film and they make a cameo at the very end of the movie, but you do not hear their voices. And so the reason the Furious Five just don't have a presence in this story is either for 1 or 2 reasons, maybe both. 1, they wanted to save money on the budget because they didn't want to animate them. And 2, they didn't feel like paying actors like Angelina Jolie and Jackie Chan to come in and sit in the recording booth. Dustin Hoffman does return as Master Shifu, and at this point, it's just a role that he could play in his sleep. And I just feel like with each movie, he just keeps getting sidelined, which he had a better role in the first movie, and he's becoming the wise master. But at some point, this character is just going to become redundant. Another quick side note, the way the movie ends, it ends with Jack Black singing Hit Me Baby One More Time, which I felt was a little out of place, and I've been seeing all over TikTok Jack Black singing that song, and I'm like, why the hell is he singing that song? And then I heard that song during the end credits of the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's why. And it just kind of took me out of it, because it's like, the past 3 movies, they either end with Kung Fu Fighting, sung by CeeLo Green, or a variation of that song, or some cool song made by the composers of the movie, one of them Hans Zimmer. And so when I heard Hit Me Baby One More Time, I was just like, okay, time to go. In the end, was this movie bad? No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't even bad enough that it embarrassed itself, but it is kind of a disappointment. It is the lesser of the previous three movies. The animation is still great. Some of the themes from the previous three movies are still present here. But ultimately, I feel like if you're someone who grew up with these movies and expected these movies to grow up with you the same way the Toy Story movies did, then yeah, this just is not for you, and you're probably better off waiting until you can stream it. But if you're a parent, or if you're even a cool uncle like me that doesn't have no kids, I'd say this will definitely entertain the kids for a good 90 minutes. But overall, this is definitely the weakest of the franchise. I'm gonna give Kung Fu Panda 4 the shoulder shrug emoji.